Okay, the goal today is to help you annotate a little bit better so that you can be efficient in your annotations on the timed writings that we do and for other activities in English class and other classes. So here's some reminders. Don't try to do everything at once. You can't possibly note everything the first time through. Don't try to do it. It will just make you confused. The second thing, BTI, big ticket items. You need to be picking up the huge things that are screaming at you. Noticing the little things is awesome, but not at the expense of missing the big things. So if a clown walks in the room and you don't recognize he's a clown, all you recognize is that he's wearing big shoes, then you're missing the bigger thing. Ask yourself, so what? How does what I notice speak to a larger point? We're not annotating for the sake of annotating. We're annotating to be able to say something profound and important about the text. Succinct but useful comments should be on the paper, not sentences. So the idea is that you've processed the idea in your brain before you've written it down. So you're not writing long sentences, you're writing something succinct and to the point that's going to help you when you sit down to write. Coding is fine, but you should not need a decoder ring. It cannot be so complex that it overwhelms what you're trying to do. So we're going to start today with the prison door, which is chapter 1 of the Scarlet Letter. It is important that before you annotate anything, you read it through. And so I'm going to ask you in a minute to pause this and read the prison door all the way through so you can see it as a whole. Just like if you think about making a recipe, you would not pull eggs out of the refrigerator and start working on a recipe without knowing what you're making. It would make a very big difference how you would behave and what you would think if you knew you were making an angel food cake versus making an omelet. Same thing here. Annotating means that you're taking things apart from the whole, but you can't take things apart from the whole until you understand what the whole is. So right now, pause the machine and read over the prison door, start to finish. Okay, now you're back and you've read it and you understand it as you can see it as a whole entire piece. Now we're going to start dissecting it. When I read it the first time, the very first thing I noticed is the heaviness and the darkness that I think predominates this piece. So I'm going to annotate at the get-go for heavy and dark. Now I'm going to use a highlighter and I'm going to make a note to myself that this is about dark and heavy. And so that's what I'm going to annotate for. I'm going to actually annotate the idea of bearded because I think that that goes along with covering and darkness. And so I have a throng of bearded men, sad colored garments, gray. They're wearing hats. They're wearing hoods. They're in front of a heavy wooden edifice. It's heavily timbered. It's oak. It's studded with iron spikes. This all sets up a rather gloomy, dark, heavy mood for this piece. And I'm even going to add gloomy in here. Okay, excuse my handwriting. I have to use this little tool that's on the board, so I'm writing with my finger. I'm going to go back and keep annotating it. As I read through this, and I'm focusing on dark, gloomy, and heavy, I'm going to note that we have a cemetery and a prison are the first two things that they build. The cemetery is about death, the prison is about crime, punishment, and sin. So it goes along with my dark, heavy, and gloomy ideas that I see here. And we have prison house and burial ground at the get-go, and we've got the word grave, that's fairly heavy and dark. We've got tombstones here. We have a wooden jail. It's marked with weather stains, that's dark. It's yet darker aspect, beetle-browed and gloomy front. That is certainly not painting a pretty picture. I'm going to scroll down and get some more. I have rust, which is an idea of decay and darkness. On ponderous ironwork, again, heavy, heavy ideas and imagery. We have the word crime. I have an ugly edifice. It's overgrown. The grass is even overgrown. For me, I'm going to include that because that's like the covering of the head gear, the hats and the hoods. And the plants are burdock and pigweed. even if I don't know what those are, the diction, the way they sound, those are not pretty words. Burdock and pigweed. And that is confirmed by the fact that it says they're unsightly vegetation. So all this is heavy and dark and unpleasant, and you've got soil, which is a dark color, and born the black flower of a civilized society, a prison. And then I'm going to notice I see a shift here, right? I'm going to expect something different because I have but. But on the side portal and rooted almost at the threshold was a wild rose bush. So I am going to note that in a different way. I'm not going to highlight that because that stands out to me. This wild rose bush, that's pretty, that's light and bright, and I can see a color that is not the ugly dark colors that I've seen here. And we have June, which is a month associated with sun, and we have delicate gems. That's the opposite of what we've been seeing here. Gems connote sparkle. Delicate is the opposite of this ponderous door. We've got fragrance and fragile beauty. You've got a token of the deep heart of nature and pity and kindness. Those words just stand out. But I need to go back because I've missed some of the darkness here, right? We have a prisoner who went in and he is instantly turned into a condemned criminal, and he's got doom headed his way. So we see a lot of darkness here. I want to make a note that the things I've circled are light and colorful and brighter. They're much more hopeful, okay? And then I'm going to continue down, and I've got this rose bush again, and the rose bush has been kept alive. It has survived. That's a positive, right? And we have, again, these heavy, we've got a real juxtaposition here of this little, beautiful, light, shining rose bush, but it's in the sentence with these gigantic pines and oaks that overshadow it. And we have, again, a light word, sprung up, connotes quick movement, lightness, under the footsteps of the sainted Anne Hutchinson as she entered the prison door. Wow, in the same sentence, why is a saint going into a prison door would be the thing I might be asking myself. Let's see, pluck one of the flowers is again light. Plucking is a quick, brusque movement. It's not heavy and ponderous. And we have hope, sweet moral blossom. So just like we had the black flower, which was the prison in the civilized society, right? Did we recognize that that is a metaphor? We have an opposite metaphor here. And we've got this ending again, very heavy. We've got darkening close. So we've noticed in this piece two major big ticket items. The idea of the heaviness and darkness and gloom, and the idea of the lightness and beauty that's interspersed here a little bit with the rose bush. And the really neat thing that we noticed is this juxtaposed metaphors. The black flower of a civilized society is a prison, but here we have a rose bush, which is a sweet moral blossom. All right, so we've got a lot happening here that's valuable to us that we can say a so what about. So right now, I'd like you to stop this and think for a minute about what you think Hawthorne wants the reader to think. You know the Scarlet Letter as a whole now, right? You've read the whole thing. Going back and looking at chapter 1, what do you think the author is setting up as a tone or an idea or a concept that you can relate to Hester Prynne? Okie doke, so stop this for just a minute and think about that, and we'll come back to it.